A lot of these tech titans are fundamentally anti-human. They are really all in on the thesis that the human species has had its day, and we're mismanaging the ecosystem and everything else, and it's all right and proper that we should be supplanted by the convergence of biorobots and artificial intelligence. We are coming up to a crucial nexus. I don't think that's hyperbole.
Robert, it feels like the gloves are off with you about what's going on with the world. You've had enough, and enough is enough.
We're all getting a really hard lesson in the ability of a one party to control media. I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. It's not just me, it's all of us. It's like nothing we have ever seen before, and it's about to go on hyperdrive. How else can you perceive the Harris-Walz campaign and their rise in the polls? It's absolutely stunning, the power that this technology has to influence a large fraction of the population, and it's being deployed globally.
What's going to happen on November 5th?
This is no holds barred. They will do anything here. This is, oh shit, he might get elected, and we have to pull out all the stops, and there are no boundaries that we won't cross. The deep fakes coming out of the Harris camp were just in your face. You cannot have any confidence in what you think is true. It is intrinsically evil, and they don't care. We're in deep shit right now, and Trump may be our best hope.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go? This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is... This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Dr. Robert Malone, the internationally renowned physician, virologist, and author. You are the original inventor of mRNA vaccination as a technology and have more than 100 scientific publications with over 14,000 citations of your work. You are best known for your vocal stance and commentary during the COVID crisis, particularly concerning testing, early treatment, and vaccine safety. You wrote the best-selling book, Lies My Government Told Me and the Better Future Coming, and your latest book, Psy-War, Enforcing the New World Order, looks at psychological warfare and outlines how we can resist totalitarian control. You believe that our freedom has been compromised by an increasingly influential globalist elite that are actively promoting a great reset and new world order. That is why you have now endorsed Donald Trump as the one person capable of restoring the fundamental rights of all Americans and inspiring the free world. You've been very vocal about the importance of sovereignty, individual freedom, and how psychological warfare is being used to manipulate public perception. And you believe the upcoming election could be a defining moment in American history. Robert, welcome back to London Real.
Thanks, Brian. I think I want a reel of that just to put on Instagram. That was perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'd love to jump right into this. I might start and ask you about the Trump endorsement and, of course, the recent RFK alliance, because I know behind the scenes you were working, I think, a bit with Bobby over the past couple of years. But maybe before I jump into that, Robert, it feels like the gloves are off with you more than maybe they were in the past. And it feels like you've had enough, and enough is enough. And it feels like you're more and more vocal about what's going on with the world and maybe the way that even you're being treated in the world. Is my perception correct of that? And is that because this is such a crucial time, and also you've had such a buildup of so many things being directed at you?
Well, thanks for that. And you're accurate. I'm like Bobby. I'm coming to my network moment of I can't, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. And it's not just me. It's all of us. It's the tide of events, and we are coming up to a crucial nexus. I don't think that's hyperbole. Obviously the world has its eyes on Starmer and the various statements that have been made in the UK and all the arrests, which have just stunned many people here in the United States, as if they were asleep during what has happened in Canada. Now they're finally seeing our key partners across the pond go all in on this new crazy authoritarianism, backed by a willingness of security forces to enforce government policy on thought and speech and social media. I mean, the videos of elderly gentlemen commenting online and then getting arrested by your police force, I think really strikes a note. And then there is the arrest in France of the founder of Telegram. And this just seems to be piling on. And here in the States, we're all getting a really hard lesson in the power of the ability of a one party to control media, corporate media, and spin gold out of straw. I mean, how else can you perceive the Harris-Walz campaign and their rise in the polls? It's absolutely stunning, the power that this technology has to influence a large fraction of the population, and it's being deployed globally, or at least certainly in the West. And it's so much more than just the jabs or the policies during COVID or the masking or the Mutton Crew or the 77th Brigade. I mean, it's like everything all at once, like that famous movie. It just is coming at us so fast and hard. And talking about the gloves being off, it feels like the gloves are off from the globalists. We have Tedros and his various agendas going on, with the international health regulations. We have the UN at the end of this month is going to be trying to get nation states to sign off on this new, they call it a pact, but it's essentially a treaty. This is the, I forget what they call it, looking forward or something like that. Their new plan to accelerate Agenda 2030, in which they're asking for huge amounts of capital, by the way, a fraction of your gross national product. In our case, this comes to really big money in the United States. And they all seem to feel entitled. What we're seeing is socialism. How do I say? It's socialism set loose. It's unapologetic. And meanwhile, those of us, and increasingly I'm aligned with the logic of the Austrian School of Economics, Mises Institute, and this term that was invented by Murray Rothbard, anarcho-capitalism. And we're seeing Argentina led by a hardcore academic Austrian school economist just revolutionizing its whole position in moving towards a future that looks like more like Argentina in the past. It's the things that are moving in the United States, and then of course we've got Ukraine, we've got Putin trolling Harris. It's just stunning. Endorsing the Harris-Walz campaign. It's like clown world on hyperdrive now, everywhere, all the time, full stop.
All right, so I agree. It does feel like the gloves are off for the globalist. It feels like they've turned it all the way up, not past 10 to 11, and even into the ridiculous, which is what they do, I think. But also it feels like they're off with you too, where you're like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm taking my gloves off as well, and I'm going to come at you, and I'm going to tell it like it is, and I'm not going to let things ride a little bit. And I guess part of that is you now, endorsing Trump and, calling all these other things out. And I'd love to go into the detail because, like you said, there's so many vectors right now. It's
well put.
It's hard to keep your head straight. And I guess that's maybe part of the design. The first one that you mentioned, this complete rebranding of Harris, I'll agree, it shocked me as well because, and you could tell it shocks Trump. I listened to almost all of his speeches, and you can hear he said, everybody hated her, months ago. She was totally irrelevant. Yeah. Everybody knew she was incompetent. But as soon as she was announced as the next president, the spin campaign went into effect, and it's done such an incredible job that, it had her, I guess briefly, I don't know if she still is, ahead in the polls, which just shows you
Depends
how powerful.
Depends on which poll you watch.
Yes, it is. And
well, that's another thing, Brian, is the active manipulation of polling results is now becoming increasingly transparent. This is one of the things that really pissed off the Kennedy campaign was the kind of strategic manipulation of polling based on who and what questions would be asked. And the way that it works in the US, we all focus in polling on basically the 538 kind of aggregate of polls method for assessing and trying to balance out bias within individual polls. And so that can also be gamed because it's a numeric average. And so if one is on that list of polls that go into the aggregate and you select questions that result in significant bias, you can shift the mean because that's what they're looking for is the mean, not the mode. And so the mean is really sensitive to outlier data. And that's part of the war that's going on right now is actually manipulating the data so that it has an impression on people about who's winning. The whole thing is, Brian, I got to say that, shameless self-promotion. It's as if the world wants to validate our book.
Right.
I'm just stunned. I wish it had come out a month earlier. It's like everything we've been talking about. And I've been so wary about being in conspiracy land or labeled like that, or kind of going beyond what I should reasonably conclude from the data. And then this rush of events is just completely validating everything that I have been observing and hypothesizing. It's my fear now is that by the time the damn book is out, it's going to be outdated because there's so much.
Well, look, you've been in my studio twice talking about 5th generation psychological warfare. You spent the last couple of years writing this book. It's coming out very soon. And so the fact that you're surprised, that makes me uncomfortable because you're the guy that's seen it and been talking about it and tracking it for the last couple of years. And now you see them doing it and even you're surprised and shocked. So that scares me. I guess when you're surprised by maybe how fast they're moving and to the degree they're taking it, and then all of those different vectors, I'm guessing.
Well, also, it is so in your face. It's so overt. That's the thing is that before it was more surreptitious. They were hiding these relationships. There were these kind of back channel discussions between Facebook and the White House and Amazon and the other entities and relationships with Google. And then the data dragged out, trickled out with the Twitter files first. I mean, Elon Musk, whatever you want to say about him, credit where credit's due, he broke the ice. And talk about people that are starting to get a little bit pissed off. I think he's near the top of the list with some of the things. He's come out straight out and said it's war. He's at war. Those are his words, not my words. And that's not an interpretation. He's at war both with the U.S. government and the European Union. And I'm pretty sure that the reason why he selected his CEO, Linda Yaccarino, for Twitter was now X, was because of her ties to the WEF and what appeared to be a likelihood that she could somehow thread the needle with the European Union and the WEF. And he's come to the conclusion that there's no fixing this. He's just going to go to the mat, and then there's Brazil, which is really blowing open what a lot of people are been saying. That's another way that I'm inadvertently ahead of the curve, is that in this new world order, or whatever you want to call it, that they wish to impose on us, it may be that Starlink is your only option in terms of internet access if you don't want to get social credited to death and blocked because you are not paying your bills or you're saying unacceptable things. It is absolutely stunning. And your comment about Donald Trump, it's almost as if Donald Trump is saying, but it's not fair.
Yeah.
I would never expect that kind of sentiment coming out of that guy.
Yeah, because he's so shocked. He's shocked that could happen so quickly, even though he probably knew it, was aware of the power of it, but it's now we've seen it in front of our eyes, literally within weeks.
If you could, after the panty raid at Mar-a-Lago and all of the lawfare he's subjected to, if you could shock this man about psychological warfare, you've hit him with a pretty big hammer.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's talk about Trump, because I know you didn't take it lightly with your endorsement. And maybe to tell the Trump story, we maybe need to tell the Bobby Kennedy story, at least much as you can talk about your involvement with his campaign. And then, of course, now his endorsement, which was another big move, a big, incredible move. I had Bobby on my show on May 4th, 2020 to talk about COVID, back when nobody would allow him on the networks and everybody was saying crazy things about Bobby.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah, and I had an amazing conversation, and I would argue Bobby is the reason I stayed away from those vaccines, because I went in with my MIT degree talking about how the science is beautiful, and Bobby said, yeah, the science is beautiful, but the humans aren't. And he laid it all down for me. And that was the first time I met Bobby, and I thought, wow, this guy is extremely intelligent, extremely articulate.
Yes.
And I had him back on when he promoted his book about Fauci and the movie, which we broadcast from our platforms as well. And then I watched him go through this incredible campaign while they tried to cut him down, but also so many people got to see the real Bobby Kennedy, which was a beautiful thing. And I still think he's the only honest politician I've ever seen in my life. Tell me about your relationship with him and, of course, your Trump endorsement.
So it goes back, how can, this is one of these things you could never forget. I'm sitting there on the couch watching TV with the wife, and I get a phone call, and it comes up W Alliance. Well, that's the Waterkeepers Alliance. Okay, comes up on the cell phone as W Alliance, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I better take this call. I have no idea who this is. And we turn off the TV sound, and
the Investment Club gives us a chance to think about what wealth really is, and having the resources to have the freedom to live your life that you want. It was a whole new world for me to hear about cryptocurrency, an alternative to the traditional banking system that we have. In just 1 month that I've been a part of the Investment Club, I have listened to so many visionaries with new ideas in the world of music, in the world of finance, in the world of artificial intelligence. When I have questions, there's members of the club willing to support and help and want to see one another gain experience and knowledge. So joining the Investment Club can bring you opportunity for peace of mind, wealth, resources, community, and a more joyful time.
Hi, this is Bobby Kennedy. And that was before he had the surgery.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he was really raspy back then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is Bobby Kennedy on the phone. I can't believe it. Because, I'm of a certain age. Of course, you're much younger. I was born in 59 and just about to turn 65. And one of my earliest memories, perhaps my earliest memory, is the assassination of his uncle.
Wow.
And I was with a cousin babysitting me time in Northern California. And so this guy is iconic as far as I'm concerned. This is like getting a call kind of from political royalty, literally, despite all of the smears and everything about him. I can see through that. I know what he's been doing. I know what he's been saying. I know that all this labeling of him as an anti-vaxxer when he's raising serious questions about some of the underpinnings of vaccine clinical trial strategies. As an expert in vaccine clinical trial strategies that's run many and written many more, there's a lot of merit to what he says. And over time, over the last 4 years, I'm all in on a lot of things that are in the book Turtles All the Way Down. Matter of fact, I wrote the intro for the recent French edition. So Bobby calls and he wants to talk a little bit about CIA and their involvement in biodefense and the biodefense industry, which I know a fair amount. No, just for the record, I am not CIA. I've never been paid by CIA. I've been employed by CIA. Never been a consultant to CIA. But you can't be in the American biodefense sector and not run into CIA. They are thick as flies. They're all over this area. And a lot of the key players, including one that I have a long-standing working relationship up until 3 years ago, Michael Callahan, is absolutely a key player in both the biodefense industrial complex and the CIA and DARPA. He's a former DARPA project manager. And he was the one that called me from Wuhan in, what was it, January 4th or something like that of 2020.
Wow.
Ostensibly from Wuhan, okay, and told me that I needed to get a team spun up because this novel coronavirus looks like a serious threat, among other things. He's also the one that told me that his people have looked over the sequence of the virus and there's no way that it was biologically engineered. That was a lie. So I now recognize that that I was being played in all of those transactions by Callahan. He was playing me as a influencer in this sector, and I own that. I will never forgive him for that and other lies that I caught him at. But Bobby wanted to dial into this and ask me some questions because he was writing a book. The book, of course, is The Real Anthony Fauci.
Yeah.
And we talked, he basically interviewed me. I told him what I knew in a frank, unguarded, open way. And then time went by and he asked me to edit the earlier draft of the book, which was a huge lift, and it was a little rough at the time. And I made a lot of detailed suggestions. I'm a pretty good editor, and some kind of concrete structural suggestions like building a new introduction, which he did. And then it came back to me again to edit, and I went through the thing meticulously. It took me days, and frankly left me depressed because what it revealed was a lot of the things in the culture, in the business space. I had dealt with Anthony Fauci my whole career. He is like the dark, Voldemort is a reasonable analogy. This dark presence over the whole sector that is allowed to do things that the rest of us would be delisted for. as in terms of being a clinical researcher. I mean, he's just there, dominating the space, controlling the money, controlling the agendas. He has been the dark force my entire career. I cut my teeth on the early days of AIDS. I have an intimate, personal understanding of Tony and Bob Gallo's early fights. Bob Gallo, notoriously in the HBO series and the band Played On, is a notorious Italian street fighter in terms of the science. And he went head to head with Tony, and Tony took him out. And he left NCI and had to set up an institute in Baltimore, if that's not coming down. So Bobby asked me to do all this, and I willingly did it because the mission and the content was so important. And it did leave me depressed, just to be frank about it. The things that were in that book stunned me. And I thought I was a battle-hardened, seasoned veteran. But what he compiled was amazing. So time went by, and he asked me to attend a fundraising rally because I had been, at this point, I'd been starting to speak out. And I think the Rogan thing had already happened, and the Brett Weinstein thing had already happened, and that whole ball was my censorship and all that crap. And so he asked me to come to a fundraising rally for CHD up in New England, which I gladly did. And in that context, he took me aside and shared some polling results that had been run surreptitiously, quietly, that were really encouraging. And he said, "I'm thinking about running, but keep this under your hat." So I was kind of cone of silence there, but fascinated, and I encouraged him. And then later on, a mutual close friend, Gavin DeBecker, who runs DeBecker and Associates, this huge major security firm that
he's
does
impressive.
security for the likes of,
he's very impressive.
He does Bezos. He used to apparently do security for Musk, but Musk was basically uncontrollable, and he fired the client. That's a great story.
Wow. Okay.
And he initially bankrolled the super PAC for Kennedy's campaign. And before all that happened, Gavin came by our farm, I think with a couple of his kids, to visit us and the horses and hang out a little bit. And took Jill and I aside and said, "Hey, here's this new polling data. What do you think Bobby should do?" And my comment, I'm just one of, I'm sure, 100 people that Gavin asked the question of, but my comment was, I think he has to run, and I don't think he has a moral choice, because it's the only way he's going to break through the firewall that they've erected around him in terms of communicating his message, what he's observing and experiencing. So time passes. There's a go decision. He invites me to the Boston announcement. And at that point, I had not really talked politics with Bobby. I, talked about the jab and the COVID crisis and the manipulations in the vaccine industry and this intelligence community and biodefense and all that kind of stuff, but I'd not really gone into his politics. And he rolls out this theme at the announcement in Boston, where he surrounds himself with, by the way, he has a very large extended family, and a number of his family, despite the press will never say this. If you listen to the press, you think that every one of his family members is shooting arrows at him. Yeah. That is absolutely not true. Kathleen Kennedy Townsend and the kind of insider hardcore demos that are within the family were very glad to attack him repeatedly and have that be weaponized. But that doesn't represent the full breadth of the family, which is quite large. And but Bobby comes out and basically, to my ear and eyes, takes a position that there is still, the way I phrase it, is a pre-Carter Democrat Party. that he calls Kennedy Democrats. So this is pre-Reagan, pre-Carter, pre-Thatcher, put it in your context, and still very much kind of great society with an environmentalist spin to it because, of course, his experience in waterkeepers, which is absolutely valid. I mean, he's a real environmentalist, not one of these fake carbon credit kind of guys that are, using that for some other surreptitious economic agenda. But he comes out really strongly in endorsing and speaking about kind of great society agenda. And I'm not okay with that, frankly. I'm increasingly, as I said, spinning off into the Murray Rothbard Austrian School of Economics. How much do we really need the state kind of way of thinking, which I think is probably a little more aligned with where you're coming from.
Yes.
And so I pulled back, is the honest truth. And at one point there was advocacy that I should endorse him that came through a third party. And Jill and I didn't feel comfortable with that. There was too many moving parts. And we had asked him some questions about Agenda 2030 that he kind of dodged, and that gave us a pause. And then we kind of were separate. Gavin's a friend. We spend time with Gavin, and he talks to us about the candidacy, and so does Tony Lyons, who became operationally the head of that super PAC, who's my publisher at Skyhorse. And I corresponded with him 3 times this morning, I think, about audiobooks. We talk, but I'm not in the inside, and I haven't been for a long time. Matter of fact, I had this bizarre attack, a year ago from this, how do I say, blogger, let's say, an active social media presence. I'll just call her Karen, who made the assertion that I had put a hit out on her on social media with the CIA, and that they were poisoning her. She did this as a stream on Rumble, and implored that Bobby Kennedy, who I was an advisor for, she asserts falsely, should please get Robert to call off the CIA hit. This thing gets translated into 4 or 5 different languages. It goes viral all over the world. I'm getting constant blowback, and I first learned about it because the campaign calls me and says, "What the hell is this all about?" Well, metaphorically, they didn't say quite that way, but they said, "What is this all about? And can't you do something about it?" But then that's all. They didn't like back me up or put out an announcement or anything. I had to handle it myself. Well, that's okay. But again, it kind of left me a little cold. So time goes by, and out of the blue recently, I get a text, an email from this person that I've never heard of before, Nicole Shanahan, who wants me on a podcast, wants me to come out to Malibu for a podcast. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to travel to California right now, let alone Malibu. And I'm like, I don't even know this person. And then my wife looks at the email and she's like, "Robert, don't you know who this is?" This is Bobby's VP candidate. So I go out there and really enjoy the podcast with her and learning more about her and her whole history of having been married to one of the founders of Google, and having an autistic child, and her journey, and then her investing in basically paying for Bobby's Super Bowl commercial, and being brought into the campaign. So then I start getting a little more immersed into it, but still uncomfortable, and I'm surrounded in a weird way, paradoxical, for somebody who used to, at one point, was a registered Democrat. I'm another one of these that's flipped, which is like becoming a wave now. I
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside I view is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
And I don't know how many CPACs I've spoken at now, 4 or 5. Matt Schlapp was just texting to me this morning, getting advice for somebody that can build an addition to his house, which is like 5-10 miles from our farm here. And it's a bizarre world. So I'm now kind of embraced by a lot of important conservatives. And so I just was uncomfortable endorsing anybody. But then when Trump, how soon we forget the assassination attempt, which has all the hallmarks of being state-sponsored, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll just put that as a working hypothesis that I think has a lot of data supporting it.
How did you react to that in the moment? I'm just curious, Robert.
So I was actually on Gavin's boat in the Med at the time.
Okay.
And that means that I was kind of ahead of the curve in terms of timing, because I was on kind of Central European time.
That would have been late, because I saw it on Twitter right before I went to bed on a Saturday night in the UK. You would have been an hour ahead, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this comes across and as not immediate, but pretty close to immediate, coming across in our video feed, because Jill and I have to put out our whether or not we're on vacation or on a boat somewhere. The Substack has got to go out every single day.
I love it.
So this comes across, and I'm like, oh, we got to jump on this. And I just dove into the information feed, and it was coming fast. I mean, Twitter, X was just on it. The reporting of X compared to any of the mainstream media just blew it away. And so I collected this into a Substack that really was huge in terms of subscriptions and reads and all that kind of stuff. So my reaction, I mean, I was watching in real time the discussion about where the shooter was and reporting on it, basically. I got a lot of kudos for basically doing good initial reporting, and the discussion about the second shooter and the water tower and the positioning and the triangulation and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it was just swimming in a flood of data coming at me through X, and trying to sort through that, capture it. I have a friend that's from South Africa who is even more of a denizen of social media than I am, and she was pushing stuff at me because she has other people on her feed. And so that was my experience of those events. And then the question about the water tower, the other shooter, the triangulation, who actually, the time delay between the shooter's presence on the roof and when it was taken out, and whether or not that was a consequence of line of sight problems with trees obstructing. And then it started coming out about the cop that had climbed the ladder, been confronted by a kid with a long gun, and then fell off the ladder, and there's no consequences. The whole thing is just bloody bizarre. And then they take out the shooter, ostensible shooter, and with a time delay after the shots. And the images that come, out of that almost immediately have the long gun about 6 feet away from the shooter who's just been killed. That just doesn't add up. Okay. And then the denialism and obfuscation about the casings. And then the immediate, like within 24 hours, they were pressure washing that bloody roof. Now, if that's not destroying evidence, I don't know what is. Wow. And there's just a whole cascade of things that have come out since then that don't add up. Unless, you know, and I'm now, Gavin said to me on the boat the other day, you know, a while ago, how many other things can we no longer believe or we have to question? Because once you're in this, and we covered in the book, there's some statements from the UK, from influencers and leaders that have spoken to Parliament and the government, in which they're making the case that once someone is questioning the narrative, then it kind of triggers an opening to questioning many other narratives, such as, for instance, the assassination of Bobby's uncle.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that's come out in this. We talk about it in the book as kind of a seminal event in the whole Psyops that's been played on the American public by their government ever since. And because it's such an egregious example in Operation Mockingbird and all that stuff. But you ask, you know, where was I in that stream of data? There's your answer, is I was just swimming in it, trying to capture it and record it and make sense out of it in a responsible way so that I wasn't getting ahead of the data in my skis
right.
with my readership, which was a bit of a challenge.
And what about emotionally, Robert, to see something that happened to not only the Trump and the reaction, but also an American president is, you know, an assassination attempt on an American president. Sometimes we forget, you know, there's also that, and that, how serious that is. Yeah.
And the, you know, the most charitable thing you could say is incompetence surrounding that. That's the nicest possible thing you could say. So, you know, it's another notch in the deterioration of trust, let's say, and loss of, you know, you go through this and you think, oh, I couldn't become more cynical than this. And then something else happens. And you're just like, so in terms of the emotional response, stunned, shocked, empathizing, the hero's moment of Trump standing up, putting up his fist, saying fight in the face of the threat, and, you know, surrounded by these DEI hire people that are shorter than him, but whiter. You know, to his credit, he seems to have really trimmed up lately compared to the last years of his presidency, and apparently his golf game has gotten quite good too. So I want whatever he's taking, but
yeah, I mean,
it was a stunning moment.
Yeah,
in every dimension.
Wow, and then the Bobby endorsement happened. Were you?
Well, before that,
yeah.
Then we have the debate.
Yes. Okay.
And Biden just screws the pooch. There's no other way to say it. And suddenly there is a coup. It was described as a coup by Maureen Dowd in the New York Times. Come on, guys.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.